Story 1. My name is Marisol Lopez. I'm 36 years old and I run Taqueria La Esquina in a quieter part of the Colonia Narvarte neighborhood here in Mexico City. I'm a single mom with 2 little kids, Luis, who's 8, and Ana, who's 5, and this business is what keeps us going. My stand is pretty basic, just a small cart with a griddle and a few stools, but it's well known around the block. Most of my customers are locals, neighbors who swing by for a quick taco after work. I work alone most of the time, except for when a friend, Carlos, helps out on busier days. It's a hustle, but I've always managed to make it work. But after a rainy season that scared off a lot of my regulars, I started noticing something odd. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's happening with a pattern that's making me uneasy. This started a few weeks ago, and look, I'm trying not to dwell on it, but it's not easy. Alright, I'll tell you how it's been. I usually close the stand around 10 p.m. when things have died down. One of those Tuesdays I was finishing up cleaning the griddle, already beat, just wanting to get home. The street was empty, only the sound of a light drizzle hitting the awning. Out of nowhere I heard the noise of one of the stools at the edge of the counter, that creak it makes when someone sits down. I looked over quick, thinking it was a late customer, but there was no one there. The stool was just sitting there still with nothing on it. I figured it was the wind or just me being tired, since it had been a long day. I shook my head, grabbed my stuff, and locked everything up. When I got home, I didn't even mention it to anyone, since it seemed like no big deal. But it stuck in my mind all night. The next Tuesday it happened again. I was counting the day's change, almost ready to close, when I heard that same creak from the stool. This time, I even stopped what I was doing and stared at the corner. Nothing. Empty. The street was deserted, just the streetlight flickering a little ways down. My heart sped up a bit, but I told myself it was all in my head. After all, I'm on my feet all day. I don't sleep much. It's normal to imagine things. But while I was tidying up, I caught a faint smell, kind of old like tobacco, that reminded me of a former regular, Don Ernesto, who passed away a few years back. He used to come in all the time, smoking a cigarette while waiting for his tacos. It seemed weird, but I brushed it off and got out of there fast. The stool thing started happening every Tuesday, always at the same time, just before closing. Doesn't matter if it's raining or not, the creak comes like someone sitting down there. I started paying more attention, glancing over out of the corner of my eye while I clean up. There's never anyone there, but the sound is so clear I can't pretend I didn't hear it. I even tried moving the stool to a different spot, pushed it further to the side, thinking maybe the ground was uneven. Didn't make a difference. The noise kept coming. I'm trying not to let it get to me, but I'll admit I get kind of tense on those nights. Especially since it's not just the stool that's been bugging me lately. There was a day I made some tacos for myself before closing, since I hadn't eaten much. I left the plate on the edge of the counter for just a few seconds while I grabbed a soda from the cooler. When I came back, I swear one of the tacos looked like it had been bitten. There was a mark, like someone took a bite out of it. I looked around. There was no one on the street, not even a stray dog or anything. I was confused because it didn't make sense. I threw the taco out, thinking it was nothing, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I didn't want to believe it was anything more than a mistake on my part. Maybe I bit it without noticing, I don't know. I was exhausted, but it happened again more than once. On another Tuesday, I had an order ready for the last customer who was already leaving. I turned around to grab the salsa, and when I came back, one of the tacos on the plate had a bite mark. No one was nearby. The customer was already across the street. My stomach knotted up because this time I was sure it wasn't me. I looked at my hands, at everything around me, trying to find an explanation. I couldn't come up with anything. The worst part is that the old tobacco smell was in the air again. Real faint, but there. I stayed quiet, handed over the order, and didn't say a word. But my mind wouldn't stop racing. Don Ernesto, the customer I mentioned, was an older man who came by almost every day. He died about 3 years ago, real close to here, under some weird circumstances. I heard it was an accident or something like that, but I never got the full story. I just remember he stopped showing up all of a sudden, and then I heard the rumors around the neighborhood. He always sat on that stool at the edge, ordered his suadero tacos and smoked while he waited. The smell of his cigarette was strong, It'd linger in the air. So when I smell that scent now, for no reason at all, I start wondering if it's got something to do with him. But then I catch myself, tell myself it's nonsense, that I'm imagining things. Still, it's not easy to ignore. My kids, Luis and Anna, sometimes come with me to work, especially during school breaks. I keep an eye on them while I'm serving, let them sit in a corner drawing or playing. One afternoon, Anna, who's more talkative, came up to tell me something that shook me. She said, in that innocent little voice, that she saw a man watching Mommy work. I asked who it was, thinking it might be a customer or a neighbor. She pointed to the corner of the counter where the stool is and said he was there, but he didn't talk. I just stared at her, not knowing what to say. There was no one there, obviously. I asked Luis if he'd seen anything, but he just shrugged and said he didn't know. He's quieter, doesn't like to talk much, so I didn't push him. But Anna kept repeating it for a few days every time she came with me. "The man is there, Mummy," she'd say, pointing to the same spot. I tried telling her it was just a game, that there was no one there, but she seemed so sure of what she was saying. It made me uneasy because kids have that way of saying what they feel, you know. I don't know if I believe in that, but I also don't know how to explain it. I just asked her to stop talking about it so I wouldn't worry. I tried talking to Carlos, who helps me out sometimes, about all this. I told him about the stool creaking and the weird smell in the air. He laughed at first, said I was working too hard, that I needed a break. But when I mentioned the tacos with bite marks, he got kinda serious. He said maybe it was some kid from the neighborhood messing with me, playing a prank. I thought that could be it, so I started locking everything up tight, not leaving anything out. But nothing changed, the stuff kept happening. Carlos never heard the creak or smelled anything, so he stopped taking it seriously. I felt awkward pushing it, but I know it's not just a prank. I started closing a bit earlier on Tuesdays around 9:30 p.m. to avoid being alone too late. I try to keep busy with other things, not think about the stool or the smell. But even then, some nights I hear the creak right as I'm leaving. It's like someone wants me to pay attention, but I don't have the nerve to look for long. I grab my stuff, lock up and get out of there quick. I get home tired, but with a heaviness in my chest that won't go away. I don't tell the kids anything, or my parents, who sometimes watch them. I don't want them thinking I'm losing it or something. I thought about moving the stand to another corner, but it's not that simple. I've got my regular customers, and moving could make me lose business. Plus, the rent for this spot is cheap. I don't know if I'd find another like it. And it's close to home, I can walk here. So, giving up everything over something I'm not even sure is real feels crazy. But at the same time, I'm worried about my kids. What if this thing, whatever it is, gets more noticeable? What if it starts happening on other days? I don't know if I'm ready to deal with that, but I also don't know what to do. One time I decided to record the sound with my phone to see if I could catch the creak. I placed the phone near the stool, hidden, while I cleaned up. I heard the noise, clear as always, but when I checked the recording, there was nothing. Just the sound of the street, some cars passing in the distance. I stared at the phone, not getting it. I know what I heard, it wasn't my imagination. I played the recording over and over, but it was blank. That left me even more confused, because without proof, how am I supposed to talk about this with anyone? Who's gonna believe me? I just put the phone away and didn't bring it up again. There was a Tuesday when the tobacco smell was so strong it felt like someone had just smoked right there. I searched everywhere, thinking maybe a customer left a cigarette nearby, but I didn't find anything. The bite marks on the tacos showed up again too, on a plate I left for less than a minute. I just stared at everything, feeling an unease I can't quite describe. It's not fear, it's more like a sense that something's not right. I tried to ignore it, cleaned up and left, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. At home, I didn't sleep well, kept wondering what it could. Is it really Don Ernesto or just my mind playing tricks on me? I talked to a neighbor, Doña Clara, who knows everyone in the area. I asked if she knew anything about Don Ernesto, how he died. She said it was an accident, that he tripped or something like that on a rainy night, real close to my stand. No, one saw exactly what happened. They just found him after. She didn't know much else, only that it was sad. I listened, trying to connect it to what's going on, but I'm not sure if it adds up. I asked if she'd ever felt anything strange around here, but she said no. She just looked at me kinda skeptical, like I was asking about something unimportant. Thought about calling someone from the church, maybe to bless the place, but I'm not really into that. My mom is more religious, always talks about praying to keep bad things away, but I don't know if that applies here. What if I call someone and it doesn't work? Or worse, what if people start saying there's something wrong with my stand? That could ruin my business, and I depend on this to raise my kids. So for now, I'm just trying to keep going. I close early on Tuesdays, keep the kids away on those days, and try not to think about it too much. But it's not easy, because every week there's something new reminding me of it. Anna stopped talking about the man who watches, thank God, but I still feel like she sees something she's not telling me. The other day she was quiet, just staring at the corner of the counter while I worked. I asked what was wrong and she just shook her head, saying it was nothing. I don't know if I feel relieved or more worried about that. Luis keeps to himself, not saying anything, but sometimes I catch him looking at the same spot. I try not to let it get to me, tell myself it's just kid stuff, but deep down, I wonder if they're sensing something I can't see. I don't want to scare them, so I just change the subject and keep working. I started noticing that some of my longtime customers are coming less on Tuesdays. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if they're feeling something in the air like I am. An older guy who always ordered his bistec tacos hasn't shown up in weeks. When I asked another customer if they knew about him, they just said, "He prefers to come on other days now." They didn't give a reason, but it stuck with me. Business is already slower because of the rain, and if this gets worse, I don't know how I'll manage. I'm torn between wanting to understand what's happening and just ignoring it all, but ignoring it is getting harder and harder, especially with these things repeating. For now, I keep pushing, opening the stand every day, serving whoever comes by. On Tuesdays, I try not to be alone for too long, call Carlos if I can, or close earlier than usual. The creak of the stool, the tobacco, smell the marks on the tacos, it all keeps happening, but I've got no answers for any of it. Sometimes I feel like someone's there, close by, but when I look, I don't see anything. I don't know if it's in my head, if it's tied to Don Ernesto, or to something that happened here before me. All I know is that the stand, which has always been my place, my livelihood, now has a weight to it I don't understand. I don't know what's going to happen or if this will ever stop. I tell bits of this to a few people, but no one takes it too seriously, and I'm not even sure I want to believe it myself. I'm living day by day, trying to protect my kids and keep the business going. But every Tuesday, when night falls, I'm waiting for that creak, that smell, and I don't know how long I can handle it. If anyone's been through something like this or has any idea what it could be, let me know, because I'm running out of ways to think about it. Something tells me this isn't going to disappear so easily, and I'm scared of what might come next. Story 2. My name is Javier Hernandez, I'm 48 years old, and I run Taqueria Don Chucho on a busy corner in the Colonia Roma neighborhood, right here in Mexico City. This business used to belong to my uncle, who left it to me as an inheritance when he passed away about 10 years ago. It's always been my pride, you know. I work hard, show up early to get everything ready, stay late serving the last customers. It's an exhausting life, but an honest one. The taqueria is small, just a cart with a griddle and a spit for al pastor, but business is good, especially on weekends. Most of my customers are locals, workers, students, families. There's always some chit-chat, a laugh or two while I'm slicing the meat. But lately, something weird has been happening, something I can't quite explain. It started a few weeks ago and it's messing with me in a way I can't ignore. It was a Thursday night around 10 p.m. when I first noticed it. Things had slowed down, only a couple of customers were left finishing their food. I was cleaning the griddle. The city sounds quieter, just the faint noise of cars passing in the distance. All of a sudden, I heard a murmur coming from the alley next to my stand, a dark spot where nobody goes. It sounded like someone speaking softly, almost a whisper, and I swear I heard my name, Javier, in a hoarse voice. I thought it might be a customer calling me, but when I looked over, there was no one there. The alley was empty, just piled up trash and the dim glow of a streetlight further down. I figured it was just exhaustion, since Thursdays are tough. I shook my head and got back to work, but I felt a heaviness in my chest. I didn't tell anyone, not even my daughters, when I got home. The next Thursday, it happened again. I was tidying up, already thinking about closing, when I heard that same whisper, clearer this time. Javier. The voice sounded familiar, like I knew it, and it gave me a weird feeling in my gut. I thought of my Uncle Chucho, who died suddenly of a heart attack right here at the stand while he was working. The voice had a similar tone to his, deep and kind of drawn out. I stood there, staring into the alley, but there was nothing, just darkness. My heart was racing, but I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. After all, I work late, sleep little, stress is normal. Still, I couldn't relax. I closed up quicker than usual and got out of there, avoiding looking to the side. Home, I couldn't sleep right, kept thinking about it. This started happening every Thursday, always at the same time when business is slow. The whispers get more persistent. Sometimes I hear short phrases like "come here" or "I'm here." Always from the alley, always in that voice that reminds me of Uncle Chucho. I started avoiding being alone late at night, asking my helper, Miguel, to stay longer. But even with him around, I still heard it. Miguel never heard a thing, gave me odd looks when I asked if he'd heard something. "Everything's quiet, boss," he'd say, and I felt awkward pushing it. I started thinking I was losing it, but it's not just that. Other strange things started happening, and it got harder to ignore. One night, while I was serving a customer, I saw an order written in my notebook. 3 al pastor tacos with everything, but I didn't remember writing it down. I asked Miguel, and he swore it wasn't him. The customer, an older guy who comes often, confirmed he ordered exactly that, but I didn't recall hearing him. I was confused, but I made the tacos and let it go. But it kept happening. Orders showing up in the notebook without me writing them. It was like someone else had written them, in a shaky handwriting different from mine. I stared at the notebook for a long time that night, trying to make sense of it. My stomach was in knots, but there was no logical explanation. I put the notebook in a drawer and tried to forget it, but I couldn't. There was something else that made me even more uneasy. One Thursday, as I was cutting meat off the al pastor spit, I noticed a dark liquid dripping, almost black, like old blood. The spit was fresh. I'd prepared it myself that morning. There's no way it could have gone bad. I wiped it up quick, thinking it was just dirt, but the smell wasn't right. It smelled rotten. No customer complained about the meat, so I didn't say anything, but I kept eyeing the spit the rest of the night. The next day I cleaned everything, checked the meat, and it was fine, no issues. But that Thursday, the liquid came back, only at night, right when I heard the whispers. I started connecting the dots, and the discomfort just grew. Customers started noticing something too. Some who came at night, especially on Thursdays, mentioned feeling a heaviness in the air, like something was off. A lady who always gets tacos to go told me she didn't feel comfortable there after dark. "It's like someone's watching, Javier," she said, and all I could do was force a smile. Others stopped coming on Thursdays without explaining why. Business, which has always been steady, is dropping on those days. I'm worried because I depend on this to pay the bills, to support my daughters. But at the same time, I don't know what to do. I can't just close for a day of the week, right? I started noticing something even stranger. On these Thursday nights, when I hear the whispers, I see a shadow near the streetlight across the road. It's not a person, at least it doesn't seem like it, because when I try to look closely, it disappears. It's just a dark shape standing there like it's watching me. I've tried crossing the street with a flashlight to check, but there's never anything there. Just the streetlight, empty ground, and the sound of the wind. But I feel it's there, that it's seeing me. It leaves me with a lump in my throat, a fear I can't describe. I hurry back to the stand, trying to keep busy with something, but it doesn't help. I've thought about talking to someone in the family about this, but I don't know where to start. My sister, Lupe, was close to Uncle Chucho, but it's been years since we've brought up his name. He died in a sad way, alone at work, and we never really talked much about it. Could this have something to do with him? Is he trying to tell me something? I'm not the type to believe in this stuff. I've never been big on church or superstitions, but now I'm not so sure. I keep thinking about the stories my grandma used to tell about spirits coming back because of unfinished business. I always thought it was just old folks' tales, but now it's hard to laugh it off. All I know is I'm not at peace. One night I decided to record the sound with my phone to see if I could capture the whispers. I placed the phone near the alley, hidden, while I cleaned the griddle. I heard the voice again, clear, calling, "Javier," and I nearly dropped the spatula from nerves. When I checked the recording, there was nothing, just street noise, cars passing far off. My heart was pounding because I know what I heard. It wasn't my imagination. I played the recording back and forth, but it was blank. That left me even more confused. If there's no proof, how am I going to explain this to anyone? They'll think I'm crazy. I started changing my routine because of this. I try to close earlier on Thursdays before 10 p.m. to avoid being alone. I ask Miguel to stay until the end, even though he doesn't get why. But it's not always possible since he's got other commitments. When I'm alone, I keep glancing at the alley out of the corner of my eye, waiting to hear something. Sometimes I play music on my phone loud to drown out any noise, but even then some nights I hear it over the music, that hoarse voice. Then I just pack up my stuff and leave as fast as I can. I don't want to stay there a second longer. I get home exhausted but relieved. My wife Carmen noticed something's wrong. She asked why I'm coming home earlier, why I look so worried. I didn't tell her everything, just said I'm tired, that work's been heavy. I don't want to scare her, or the girls. But I know she doesn't fully believe me because she knows me. The other day she suggested I take a few days off, rest. I thought about it, but who's going to take care of the business? I can't stop, we depend on the taqueria. But I'm scared this might get worse, that it's not just sounds and shadows. What if it's something more? I'm starting to connect this to my uncle's story. He was always kind of private, didn't talk much about his life. All I know is he had money problems, debts before he died. Did he leave something unresolved? Does it have to do with me now? I don't know, but I keep thinking maybe there's something about the taqueria we don't know. Maybe he did something or hid, something that's coming back now. I have no way of knowing, but this idea won't leave my head. Every time I open the stand, I think about it. What if there's something hidden here? I tried looking through Uncle Chucho's old records, some papers I keep in a box at home. They're notes from suppliers, bills, day-to-day stuff. I didn't find anything odd, just numbers and names I don't recognize. But while I was going through them, I felt uneasy, like I shouldn't be digging. I put everything back and locked the box. I don't know if that helps, but I don't want to mess with the past anymore. Ignoring it isn't working either, though. The whispers keep coming. The shadow is still there. I don't know what to do about it. I talked to a friend, Raul, who has a fruit stand nearby. I asked if he'd ever heard anything weird in the area, but he laughed, said it's just exhaustion. "You work too much, Javier. You're seeing things that aren't there," he told me. I didn't push it, but I know it's not just tiredness. It's not normal to hear voices, see shadows, feel this weight. Raul doesn't get it because he's not living it. I thought about calling a priest, someone to bless the place, but I'm not sure I believe in that. What if it doesn't work? What if it makes things worse? Customers keep commenting. The other day, a guy who comes every week asked if something happened in the alley because he smelled something weird coming from there. I didn't know what to say, just told him it was piled up trash. But he didn't seem convinced, and he hasn't been back since. This worries me, because the reputation of the business is everything. If people start avoiding the taqueria, how am I going to support my family? I'm stuck between fear and the need to keep going. I can't abandon what I've built, but I also can't handle this feeling anymore. I thought about installing a security camera, pointing it at the alley and the streetlight. Maybe if I record something, I'll have proof, or at least see what's going on. But what if nothing shows up again, like with the phone recording? What if it's something that doesn't show on video? I don't know if I'm ready to deal with that. For now, I just bought a stronger flashlight to light up the alley when I hear something, but so far I haven't had the courage to go over there again. I just stay in my spot, praying silently for it to stop. Every Thursday, that same tightness in my chest comes back. I get to the stand with a knot in my stomach, knowing I'm going to hear the whispers again. I try to distract myself, talk to customers, keep my mind busy. But as the night goes on and silence takes over, it's inevitable. The voice comes low, insistent, calling me. The shadow is there, I know it, even if I don't look. I don't know how much longer I can take this. I'm scared that one day I won't be able to ignore it, and I'll go to the alley to see what it wants from me. I really don't know what's happening. It could be my head, it could be something from Uncle Chucho's past, or it could be something else I don't understand. All I know is that the taqueria, which has always been my safe place, feels different now. It's not just a business anymore. There's something here, something I can't see, but I feel. I don't know if I'll find out what it is or if I even want to. For now, I just keep working, pretending everything's fine, but deep down, I'm dreading the next Thursday, with a fear I don't know how to handle. Up to now, I haven't told the whole story to anyone, just bits and pieces to Miguel and Raul. I don't know if anyone would believe me, or if they'll think I'm losing my mind. Maybe I am. But the whispers don't stop, and the shadow doesn't go away. I'm living day by day, trying not to think too much, but sometimes I can't help it. If anyone knows something or has been through this, tell me, because I'm at my limit. I don't know what's going to happen, but something tells me this isn't just going to disappear. I'm trapped in my own taqueria with something I don't understand, and I don't know how to get out. Story 3. My name is Carlos Ramirez. I'm 28 years old, and I work in an office here in Mexico City. I'm the kind of guy who's always on the go, but every Friday night, I like to unwind. My routine is to go out and grab tacos at these off-the-beaten path stands away from the hustle and bustle around the Colonia Juarez area. I'm not one to stick to the same spot. I like to explore, find little carts that hardly anyone knows about. It's a way to clear my head after a week full of reports and meetings. Usually I hop in my car, drive around a bit, and stop wherever something catches my eye. But on one of those Fridays, something happened that hit me in a way I can't explain. It wasn't anything dramatic, but even now I'm still trying to figure out what went down. I'll tell you about it, because it's still fresh in my mind. It was around 9 p.m., and I was desperate to avoid the traffic on Reforma. Anyone who knows the area knows it's a nightmare at that hour, so I decided to cut through some smaller streets. I was starving, my stomach growling, and I didn't want to stop at just any crowded place. After driving around for a bit, I spotted a small stand, kind of hidden, on a poorly lit corner. The sign, if you could even call it that, was a handwritten board, Taqueria El Rincón. There was just a dim bulb hanging there. You could barely see anything. I parked my car half on a whim, just because I was really hungry. I got out, looked around, and saw there was hardly anyone there. Just an old man behind the counter with a serious face, looking like he was carrying something heavy you couldn't quite put a finger on. His name, as I found out later, was Don Ernesto. He greeted me with a nod, not saying much, and asked what I wanted. I ordered 3 suadero tacos, which is what I always get when I'm trying out a new spot. While he was preparing them, I noticed the other customers, maybe 2 or 3, weren't looking at anyone. They kept their heads down, eating in silence, like they wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. I thought it was odd, but figured it was just how they were. The vibe wasn't exactly welcoming, you know. There was a smell of grease mixed with something kind of stale, hard to place. I stood there waiting, trying to make small talk, but Don Ernesto only answered in one-word responses. He had this far-off look, like he was weighed down by something. I don't know why, but it made me uneasy. When the tacos arrived, I gotta admit the smell was amazing. The first bite I took was a burst of flavor, something I'd never tasted before. It was like everything was perfect. The seasoning, the meat, even the tortilla seemed different. But as I was chewing, I started to feel something weird. I can't describe it well, but it was like the air got heavier. All of a sudden, I heard a muffled sound, like a moan, real distant, but at the same time it felt like it was coming from everywhere. I stopped eating for a second, looked around, but didn't see anything out of the ordinary. The other customers didn't even flinch, like they hadn't heard it. I thought it was just in my head, maybe exhaustion from the week. I kept eating, but that sound stuck with me, echoing in my mind. Out of nowhere, Don Ernesto muttered something as he handed me a napkin. It was quiet, almost hard to make out, but I heard him say, "Don't eat too much, kid." I thought it was strange, because that's not the kind of thing a taco vendor says. I asked him what he meant by that, but he just shook his head and went back to his corner. I felt awkward pushing it, so I finished the tacos kind of quick. The taste was good, but each bite seemed to carry something I couldn't grasp. That muffled sound came back, fainter, but still there. I decided not to order more, paid, and thanked him. He just looked at me, with a gaze that seemed to say more than words. I left there with an odd feeling in my chest. As I walked back to my car, I felt like someone was watching me. The street was empty, just the sound of my footsteps and some cars passing in the distance. I looked behind me a couple of times but didn't see anyone. Even so, I couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was following me. I got in the car, locked the doors, and drove home faster than usual. It wasn't exactly fear, but an unease that wouldn't leave me. When I got home, I took a shower to relax, but it didn't help much. I lay in bed thinking about that place, about Don Ernesto and that strange sound. I slept poorly, waking up several times for no reason. The next day I realized the taste of the tacos was still in my mouth. It wasn't normal. Hours had passed, I'd brushed my teeth, had coffee, but the flavor wouldn't go away. It was like it was stuck to me. That made me restless, because it didn't make sense. I tried to ignore it, went to work, but all day long I kept remembering that stand. The muffled sound, like a distant cry, seemed to echo in my head every now and then. I told a co-worker, Juan, about the experience, but he just laughed, said I was overreacting, that it was probably just a weird spot. I tried to laugh with him, but deep down I didn't find it funny at all. That feeling didn't go away in the following days. The taste of the tacos stayed with me for almost a week, always there, like a reminder. I started having weird dreams too. They weren't nightmares with monsters or anything, just images of a dark street, a corner I didn't recognize, and a sense of sadness that wasn't mine. I'd wake up with my heart racing, not understanding why I was dreaming about that. I didn't tell anyone else, because it seemed silly, but I started avoiding that area. Just thinking about going back to Colonia Juarez made me feel heavy. It was like something had latched onto me after that night. I tried looking up Taqueria El Rincon on my phone, but I couldn't find anything. Not a single review, not a picture, nothing. I asked some friends who know the neighborhood well, but no one had heard of a stand with that name. That only made me more curious. How does a place that memorable have no record anywhere? I thought about going back to clear things up, maybe talk to Don Ernesto again, but at the same time, I'm not sure I want to. There's something about that stand that doesn't sit right with me. What if I go back and feel that again? Or worse, what if there's something I can't explain? I'm torn between curiosity and an unease I can't name. At night, I started feeling watched even inside my own home. It's not constant, but there are moments when I look out the window and feel like someone's across the street. I don't see anything, just the streetlights and silence. I try to convince myself it's all in my head, that I'm just worked up from that day, but I can't shake it completely. The other day, while driving home from work, I passed a street that looked like the one in my dreams, and the taste of the tacos came back strong out of nowhere. I pulled over for a moment, not knowing what to think. It was just for a few seconds, but it shook me up. I told my sister Laura about this. She's the only person I open up to about stuff like this. She listened carefully but said I might be stressed. That work's getting to me. She suggested I take a weekend to rest, get out of the city. I even considered it, but I don't know if it'll help. It's not just stress, I feel like it's something more. She asked if I believed in things like spirits or whatever, but I laughed. I've never been into that. I'm more grounded. But after that stand, I don't know what to believe anymore. I just know something's not right. I thought about talking to someone who knows the history of that area, maybe an older neighbor or someone who works around there knows something about Don Ernesto or that corner. I've heard rumors in passing that some corners in Colonia Juarez have heavy stories, stuff no one talks about openly. I don't know if it's connected, but I keep wondering if that stand has something in its past that's coming back now. I'm not into superstitions, but how do I explain the sound I heard, the taste that won't leave, the dreams? I don't want to seem crazy, so I haven't mentioned this to anyone else, but the thought won't leave my head. After that day, I've been avoiding going out for tacos at random places. It sounds silly, but I've lost some of the fun of exploring, like I used to. I stick to the stands I already know near home, where I'm sure I won't run into surprises. Even so, there are nights when I think about that cart. I remember Don Ernesto's face, the sadness he seemed to carry. Was he trying to warn me about something with that comment about not eating too much? Or does he have something to do with what I'm feeling? I don't know, but I keep mulling it over more than I'd like. The taste of the tacos finally faded after a few days, but the dreams still come every once in a while. They're not frequent, but when they happen, I wake up with a bad feeling, like I lived through something that wasn't mine. I try not to dwell on it during the day, keep busy with work, hang out with friends, but at night, when I'm alone, that feeling of being watched comes back. It's not something I can see or prove, but it's there like a shadow. I try to laugh at myself, tell myself it's nonsense, but it doesn't help. Something from that night stayed with me, and I don't know how to get rid of it. I talked to a friend who knows about the city's history, Miguel. I asked if he knew anything about tragedies or accidents in Colonia Juarez. He said, yeah, that area's had its rough moments, but nothing specific about a taco stand. He suggested I stop thinking about it, that it wasn't worth it. I agreed with him at the time, but deep down I know it's not that simple. I can't erase what I felt, what I heard. I thought about going back just to see if the stand's still there, but I don't have the guts. What if something's waiting for me? I don't know if I'm ready to face it. These past few days I passed by a street near that corner by accident, and I felt the same unease. I didn't stop, just hit the gas and got out of there. But as I was driving, I swear I heard that muffled sound again. Real faint, almost imperceptible. I don't know if it was real or if my mind's playing tricks on me, but it left me on edge for the rest of the day. I didn't tell anyone, because I'm tired of sounding like I'm making stuff up. I just kept it to myself, like I've been doing with everything. But I can't stop asking myself what that was. Did I pick something up from that night? I started changing my routine a bit. I avoid really dark or empty streets at night, even if it means taking a longer route. I don't go out as much on Fridays like I used to. Sometimes just stay home watching a movie or something. It's not laziness, I just don't want to risk running into something I don't understand. My friends tease me, say I'm getting old, but I don't explain why. I can't talk about this without sounding like I've lost it. I just say I'm more tired, that work's been rough, but deep down I know it's not just that. Something shifted in me after that stand. I thought about talking to someone more experienced, maybe a family member who believes in things beyond what we see. My grandma always talked about energies, places that hold stories. I never took it seriously, but now I'm not sure. Is there something stuck at that stand? Is Don Ernesto tied to this somehow? I have no way of knowing, and maybe I don't even want to. I just know I don't feel the same since that day. The taste might be gone, but the feeling isn't. And the dreams, when they come, remind me something's unresolved. I'm trying to live normally, but it's not easy. For now, I'm just getting by. I go to work, see my friends, try not to think too much about that night. But sometimes I can't help it. The other day, a co-worker mentioned a new taco stand in Colonia Juarez, and I just changed the subject. I don't even want to hear about places I don't know in that area. I'm not sure if it's paranoia or if there's a reason, but I'd rather not risk it. If that stand is still there, I don't want to cross paths with it again. At least not now, not until I understand what happened. I'm putting it aside, but deep down, I know it's not over. I don't know if I'll ever get answers about what went down. I tell bits of this story to a few people, but no one takes it too seriously, and I'm not even sure what to think myself. I'm living day by day, trying to ignore this feeling that something's following me. But sometimes when I'm alone, I feel that weight again, like someone or something is nearby. If anyone's been through something similar or knows stories from that area, let me know, because I'm at a loss for what to do. Something tells me this isn't going to disappear so easily, and I don't know what might happen if I go back to that corner. I've got an unease I can't explain, and it's hitting me harder than I'd like.